Welcome back. I'm Pratap here. Today is 16th November 2023. So before we generate demand and supply zones, let us evaluate the performance of our high liquidity zones generated in our yesterday's report. Even before that, look into this Nifty chart, and today the weekly supply zone, Nifty's weekly supply zone is pierced. But did you observe just above this weekly supply zone, institutional's professional gap is there, and the pending orders in this professional gap pushed the price down. Almost 100 points is down once prices entered into this professional gap area. But we should also accept today's demand is so strong, some of the institutional pending orders in this professional gap is consumed. That is what we can observe by looking to the wick of this candle, the higher wick of this candle. But prices are almost close to the 75-minute supply zone. But we should understand, couple of weeks back we discussed about this professional gap. So once prices entered into this professional gap, see how strong it pushed the prices down. At the time, the weekly demand zone is violated because of this professional gap. So now our tomorrow's trade is going to be very interesting. We should observe what is going to happen tomorrow. Is a new demand, tomorrow's new demand is going to consume all these orders in this professional gap? Or this professional gap once again push the Nifty down like how it did previously? So we have to wait and observe. That's why I'm saying tomorrow's day is going to be a very interesting trading day. Okay, this is about Nifty. Now let us evaluate the performance of high liquidity zones generated in our yesterday's report. We have two stocks from our yesterday's list. So one is Tata Chemicals. It's not yet entered into this high liquidity demand zone. And next one is one short trade, that is SBI Life. So here also prices did not enter into this zone. But remember, this 75-minute zone is already tested. Let's go to the 75 minutes time frame. So this is already tested. And this is not a high liquidity. 75 minutes is not a high liquidity zone. So that's why we should not trade in this zone. SBI Life is not a tradable zone as per our strategy, because we didn't have any more fresh 75-minute zone inside this. There are two possibilities. Now this zone will be easily broken, or if once prices entered into this, institutions may create a new 75-minute supply zone and push the price down. That is also possible. If it is the second case, again next time prices go back, at the time only we can take the trade. But as of now, this zone is not a tradable zone. So we have to strictly follow these rules. Why we have to strictly follow these rules? I will explain when I explain about the stock Polycap that we discussed yesterday. Then you will understand why we should be very strict. Next, from 75 minutes high liquidity zone, yesterday I published 75 minutes. But remember, 75 minutes and 15 minutes, the strategies will slightly vary, but you can trust at some extent. I'm not saying completely, like how you are trusting these daily high liquidity zones. The same way, you may not trust 75 minute zone, but some extent we can trust. You can take few trades in 75 minutes. 15 minutes is can't be predictable, like how we are predicting the daily high liquidity zones, because they are lower time frame. They may work some 2 or 3 times, and after that they fail. And you can't adapt the strategy also, because they are already lower time frame zones. Further fine tuning is almost very difficult in those zones. But you can apply different strategies by mixing 115 minute zone with another 15 minute zones, and make sure those zones are inside some 75 minutes, That way you can employ some strategy and you can trade. But directly you cannot trade like how we are trading daily high liquidity zones or 75-minute zones at some extent. So this UBL, the next stock is the UBL, is a 75 minutes demand zone. It was recommended yesterday. And we got a trade today. Yesterday, this is a near demand zone stocks from our 75 minutes zone. So today it entered into this. This 75 minutes I fine-tuned because 5 minutes and 15 minutes they are not having clarity. So what I did, I found the horizon at 1 minute time interval. Actually, this is a 1 minute demand zone. Why I have to do price action close? Look here, previously it reached, look into this candle. See the rejection in this candle. There is a heavy order flow in this 1 minute newly created demand zone. This order flow is very strong. That's why see the rejections. Again, the same level, see the rejection. Even same thing happened even today. The same level price reached. From there again, how it moved up and finally reached the target. So based on these price action clues, I decided to accept this trade. So such kind of clues you can employ when you want to take any lower time frame zones. But otherwise you should be very careful when you are dealing with lower time frame zones. Daily is, we already adopted a strategy. We can trust on that strategy. We've been seeing how successful they are for the last 1.5 months. And today it reached the target. It reached the 15 minutes target. Because always we look for 15 minutes time level. Because during the intraday, our high liquidity zones are having the capability to push the prices up to 15 minutes level. And how much profit we got for UBL? 9,440 rupees profit we got. And which is 8.487% return on the investment. ROI is 8.487%. So excellent trade. Even without fine tuning also you can take a trade on this 75 minute zone because the risk is very minimal. It's around 3,500 rupees risk. Close to 1:2.5 risk reward trade, this one during the intraday. Okay, this is about UBL from 75 minutes demand zones. And 75 minutes supply zone also we have a stock that is Asian Paints. Asian Paints entered into this zone, but it is not entered into the where we found the actual horizon in this at 5 minutes. This is the 5 minute zone. So we can't trade with accept this trade. And the next one is, this is about yesterday's, but yesterday we discussed about ICICI GI. Do you remember? We compared ICICI GI with HDFC AMC. Today the stock entered into the areas we discussed. I have some confidence that this zone will give a good success. Today it reached, but the force is not the same way what I expected. The reason is already here a 15 minutes demand zone is very near it is there. If there is a good gap, we would have got a good profit. So here itself we found, so this is a rally candle, we have a base candle and then we have a ERC candle. This is an ERC candle. This will be considered because there is a huge gap. You can consider this as a rally candle. So that way rally base rally. And see how it is holding the prices, this demand zone. And but we have to accept because we have very limited, we have to accept. It is a successful trade, but reward is very minimal here. The reward it has given is 5,675 rupees, which is 4.56% return on the investment. Okay, 4.6% is a good. Compared to the other intraday trades, how people outside generally, People whoever do the intraday trades, probably they are happy with 2% return during the intraday. But we are aiming for 6%, almost close to 6% during the intraday. Compared to that 6%, it is a little lower. But compared to the other people, how they do intraday trading, this is a much better return on the investment. But as per the high liquidity, like the way how we expected, that return we didn't get due to a demand zone, 15 minutes demand zone, which is very near to our target, our trading zone. So this is one successful trade, ICICI ZI. But tomorrow we have to see for those who have taken the delivery, how much return it is going to give. Because this 15-minute zone should be broken. Then only it will go further. Probably somewhere here we can target. That is at 1368 level. But immediately there is here one 15-minute zone is there. Rally base rally. But it is already tested once. Maybe it can be broken. But this is the target. We can expect if this demand zone is broken tomorrow. So this is about ICICI ZI. But what we have to discuss is most important thing, polycap. See, it is stopped out. This 75-minute zone is tested already. Yesterday in my explanation, in the beginning of the explanation, I told you not to take this zone because it is already tested, there are higher chances of breaking. After some time, after 1 or 2 minutes in my explanation, I myself convinced maybe this, whatever is there for the fine-tuned zone inside, may give one successful trade. The reason is that due to the price action close. See the rejections, how before entering into this zone. So based on this price action close, I have taken a decision. Finally, I convinced myself this trade, this might give a successful trade. But it is failed. But the reason is because of my wrong analysis in our yesterday's video. It is a human error. The reason is, yesterday I clearly missed. Previously we have drawn this zone. Once it is violated, I deleted it. There is already one 75-minute supply zone is there. Let me draw. This one I ignored completely yesterday. This is the 75 minutes supply zone, which is already tested, and then it was violated and entered into this zone, and then it gave a return, good return, intraday return in this candle. And all these rejections from this area is because of the 75-minute supply zone, not because of the one above this. If this 75-minute supply zone is not there, suppose if it is not there, assume, then our price action clues is a perfect way of understanding. By ignoring the 75 minutes, I was thinking all these rejections are because of this zone. That's why I thought there is a heavy order flow in this zone. It's completely a blunder. It is completely a wrong analysis from my side in yesterday's video. Totally I ignored this zone. Today after it failed, I was trying to understand what is the reason. Actually it should not fail. When there is a heavy order flow, definitely it should hold the prices. But how easily the prices went up. I was a little bit surprised. When I was seriously looking into this chart, all of a sudden I realized there is a drop-based drop. And all these rejections are because of this drop-based drop. And this drop-based drop was deleted. The moment it is violated, this zone was violated on this candle. And yesterday I completely ignored this zone and done totally a wrong analysis by ignoring this. The wrong analysis is I assumed all these rejections are because of this recent supply zone that was violated today. See, human error, human way of analyzing a stock in a wrong way resulted the stock with a stop loss. Otherwise, we would have avoided this trade completely. Just because of my wrong analysis yesterday, we got one new stop loss from our analysis. It is not because of the software related issue. It is because of human wrong way of analysis. And the stop loss of the polycap is 2,200 rupees. This is our second intraday loss for the last 1.5 months. It hit the stop loss. But this hit the stop loss because of wrong analysis from my side. If the wrong analysis would not have, we would have identified, we would have focused on this drop-based drop supply zone yesterday. Then in the beginning of this discussion, while analyzing, I clearly told, don't go for this trade because this 75 minutes is already tested. Next time, there are higher chances of breaking this zone. That statement I made yesterday. You just listen the video, once again, yesterday's video when I'm analyzing this stock. And later, by ignoring the supply zone, I was saying all these rejections are because of the supply zone. And completely ignoring the supply zone. This supply zone, the one below this supply zone, this is the one. And this supply zone is the reason for all these rejections. Because there is a supply in the supply zone, 75-minute supply zone, pushing the prices down. But demand is also very strong. The demand is consuming the orders slowly, and finally, here it is a broken, price went inside. And the pending orders in this zone pushed the prices down. On that particular candle, we got a very good profit in this stock. And today, easily the prices are passed out. But as per our analysis, the human analysis point of view, I'm not saying software point of view, human analysis point of view, because of the ignorance from my side, because I have to accept my mistake. So the stop loss is 2,200 rupees, whatever we find tuned inside that. And this 2,200 is a negative return on the investment, that is 2.15 minus 2.15% for on future slot. This is the loss. 2,200 is equivalent to minus 2.15% ROI. So this is our second stop loss, but as per human wrong analysis point of view. Anyway, I'll be documenting all these things in our Excel sheet, because every day end of the month, already I published the Excel sheet in our group. Please look into our Telegram group, which I am giving in the description. The link I am providing in the description of this video. There I already published the Excel sheet for the month October. For the month November, all the trades we have identified with the help of NeoStock supply demand zone strategy builder. Whatever the high liquidity zones, I am analyzing only high liquidity zones. So those trades I will be updating in the Excel sheet again. By end of the month, I will be publishing in our Telegram channel. So this is about polycap, but we have a good learning. Sometimes how we make the mistakes and how careful we should be while analyzing. I have to accept it is because of my reckless analysis by ignoring an important point. So these are all the trades. And HDFC, AMC, we've been continuously getting, right? But today we didn't get any trade. So this one is already tested here. So we don't look for a trade here already. So what we are doing, because this zone is already tested, now I want to delete this. And now this is going to be a new zone. Already we had a rejection from this zone. So you have to fine tune this zone at 15 minutes level or 5 minutes level. I haven't done, you have to do that. Inside this is a new supply zone, rally, base, drop. But it is having a rejection already. So go a little deep inside and then you fine tune your 15 minutes or 5 minutes. So this is about the trades from our yesterday's list and a few other trades from the previous days we have discussed. Now let's get into our report generation. You know, from yesterday onwards, I am generating demand and supply zones for daily time frames, 75 minutes and 15 minutes. Now I am showing you the stocks near the zones and the stocks as per bullish setup and bearish setup. If you are not aware of bullish setup and bearish setup, if you would not have listened yesterday's video, please go to the yesterday's video and understand what are the rules I explained for the bullish setup and bearish setup. Because I can't give overview in every video, otherwise the length of the video will increase. So please refer yesterday's video. And I'm not displaying the stocks closed inside the zone and tested zones and newly created demand and supply zones, if any, especially for daily time frame. And if you feel they are required, please put them in the comment section. Definitely I will, because I'm thinking maybe they are not required for you. It is just an assumption. I don't know, you might be using. In case if you are using, please put them in the comment section. Even if one person requested, I will generate. Because the 75-minute zones and 15-minute zones are requested by one or two people only. Just to benefit. Maybe it might be useful to others also. So I am generating those zones. Exactly the same way for daily, I cannot generate for 75 minutes and 15 minutes remaining for everything like how I am generating for daily. And one more thing, for daily, all the zones, without any filters, all the zones, demand and supply zones, I am posting at the end of the video. Probably the last 2 or 3 minutes of the video, you can find the complete list of demand and supply zones for the daily time frame. 75 minutes and 15 minutes, only bullish setup and bearish setup stocks, stocks near demand and supply zones I am generating. From yesterday onwards, I am not generating stocks closed inside daily demand zone and supply zone, tested daily demand zone and supply zones, and newly created demand and supply zones I am not publishing from yesterday. If you feel they are required for daily time frame, please mention in the comment. If even one person requests, I am ready to generate them. Just for saving some time, I excluded by thinking maybe you are not using them. Maybe my assumption might be wrong. So that's why you mention in the comment section, please. So let us generate demand and supply zones for the daily time frame. Entry time frame is daily. Let us find the stocks near the daily demand zone. So we have identified 2 stocks near the daily demand zone. No high liquidity zones from this list. So let's go back. Entry time frame is daily. Let us find the stocks which are near to the daily supply zone. So total 8 stocks are listed. So do we have any high liquidity supply zones? So this is one high liquidity supply zone, Dr. Reddy. It is already having 2 rejections. That means there could have been entries for at 75 minutes level. So look for a fresh 75 minute zone. Or take a deep entry inside this daily supply zone. And another one is India Cement. It is a fresh zone, high liquidity zone. And the daily trend is down. Weekly trend is sideways. Good. And it is at the equilibrium. The risk reward is also more than 1:2. so that you can fine tune in a much better way in the lower time frames. And the next high liquidity zone is Zydus Life. So, but this is already tested 2 times. It has given 6 rejections. And good thing is it is high on the curve. Daily trend is down, but weekly is uptrend. So you need to fine tune. If you find a fresh 75 minute zone inside or any high liquidity supply zone so at 75 minutes level, then only you take the trade. So these are all the high liquidity zones from the daily time frame. Now, for daily time frame, let us generate a bullish setup related stocks. So entry time frame is daily. For bullish setup, we have to select demand zone. All these points I explained yesterday. Now I am directly setting the values without any explanation. And the trend for bullish setup, this is a daily time frame. Daily time frame, LTF is daily, ITF is weekly, and HTF is monthly. Yesterday I explained monthly trend should be either uptrend or sideways. Sideways is also acceptable. Weekly trend must be uptrend for bullish setup. Daily, we don't bother about the trend. This is I am selecting zone violation trend, not swing high-low trend. And what is other thing? Instead of high on the curve, we are setting the direction. Especially bullish setup, we have to select the stocks that are traveling from monthly demand zone to monthly supply zone. Such kind of stocks. Or monthly demand zone to all-time high. That means that particular monthly stock is not having supply zone. The stocks that are not having supply zones are called all-time high stocks, ATH stocks. So both the scenarios we have to generate the reports, both the scenarios. So that's why what I am doing, I am setting the monthly direction as first demand zone to supply zone. After that, I will generate another report for demand zone to ATH. So demand zone to supply zone. That means in the first report we are not selecting the option ATH stock. Second report we will focus on that. And also we need to. There should not be any speed backer. What is that speed backer? Weekly zone should not be there between our daily demand zone and daily supply zone. That's why we are selecting weekly also. The price should travel from demand zone to supply zone. Then only it is a strong bullish stock. Otherwise, what happens if a weekly zone is there in between, the weekly supply zone, easily it can break our daily demand zone. That possibility is there. That possibility is there. Sometimes weekly zone also will be violated. But we can't take the risk. We don't know when weekly zone will be violated. But our general assumption is weekly supply zone is stronger than daily demand zone. That's why we are making sure there is no weekly zone is there when our price is traveling from demand zone to supply zone, especially between our daily demand zone and supply zones. So these two conditions we have to set, and two more conditions, one more condition also we are setting, that is pierced zones we don't want. So I am setting pierced count for daily time frame because the report is generating daily zones. So I am setting the daily pierced count 0, 0. So we have set all the required parameters for our first report. So total 4 stocks are filtered. So you can analyze these stocks by analyzing the other parameters. Is it a fresh zone or is it a tested zone? All the details are available here on the test count and a rejection count. Zone achievement is there or not? It is there in ZA column, under this column. And a curve also there here. I told you, if your demand zone is there at the high on the curve, still you can accept the trade. because price is not yet reached into the supply zone. But make sure there is a sufficient RR is there available. If there is no sufficient RR is not there, if sufficient RR is not there, taking a trade at high on the curve is a risky. If you have a good RR, you can accept the trade. Because most of the time prices will be traveling up to the monthly supply zone, starting from the demand zone. Okay, this is about the first category of the stocks having monthly stocks having both demand and supply zones. And what is the second category? Monthly stocks are not having supply zone, they are only having demand zone. That means all-time high stocks. So for that, the price direction should be from demand zone to all-time high, DZ to ATH. Again, here two conditions will come. Weekly there could be supply zones are available. Again, weekly also no supply zones, they are also all-time high. So again, we have to generate two more reports for this variation. So let me generate the first report. So total 3 reports we have to generate for each time frame. So this is the stock. So total 12 stocks are filtered now. All these stocks, monthly supplies, they don't have monthly supply zones. So the direction is DZ to AH. But all these stocks are having weekly supply zones. But those weekly supply zones are not there between our demand and supply zones. They might be above our supply zone. That means these weekly supply zones are not speed breakers for our trading point of view. That means both demand zone and supply zones are below the weekly supply zone. That is what you have to understand. So all these are all valid stocks. Look into these stocks and whatever the supply demand zone concepts you applied, you can apply and you can select the trades accordingly. Remember, we are not applying high liquidity strategies here. This is purely based on bullish trade setup as per your normal demand and supply zones. Of course, you may find some high liquidity zones also here. Maybe you can give more priority to them in case if you find. There are some fresh high liquidity zones. For example, Reliance is there. This demand zone is a high liquidity zone, but it is a fresh zone, not yet tested so far. Okay, now this is the second scenario. All these stocks are valid. And third scenario, what is the third scenario? Weekly is also not having supply zones. That condition also we should generate the reports. So what I am doing, monthly I am keeping demand zone to all-time high, but weekly I am selecting demand zone to all-time high. So total, how many stocks? 35 stocks are there that satisfies this condition. If you want all-time high related stocks, both on a monthly time frame and weekly time frame, then you can refer this list. Remember, all-time high related stocks, the trading strategies are totally different. You cannot go for, you cannot plan for MIT trades. You cannot plan for WIT trades. You have to plan for only intraday related trades, especially all-time high related stocks on daily time frame. So be careful. If you are aware of those concepts, then make use of this list. Otherwise, we got a good number of stocks in the previous list. So this is about bullish trade setup in daily time frame. Now let's go back and focus on bearish trade setup. Okay, for bearish trade setup, but daily time frame, you have to select your entry zone as a supply zone. Okay, then your monthly trend should be either downtrend or sideways trend. Weekly trend must be downtrend for bearish setup. And next, price direction, how it should travel from monthly supply zone to weekly supply zone, the price should travel. When prices are moving from monthly supply zone to monthly supply zone to monthly demand zone, that indicates prices are falling. When prices are falling, we should go for short trades. That is what bearish setup. So that's why now I'm changing the price direction for monthly time frame as monthly supply zone to monthly demand zone. Monthly supply zone to monthly demand zone. And also weekly also, the direction should be weekly supply zone to weekly demand zone. So both I set as supply zone to demand zone. So we already defined this Pierced count 0 for daily time frame. Let me keep as it is. Let me filter. So total 3 stocks are there that are supporting. Bearish trade setup. Remember, the pierced count we set for supply zones, not for demand zones. Supply zones, pierced count is 0 here. Look for only supply zones. Here you are seeing a pierced demand zone. We don't bother about it because our trade is on the supply zone. Demand zones are only our targets. If this demand zone is a pierced, we are even more lucky. The reason is we may get even much better target. The next demand zone below this, maybe prices may go up to that. That possibility is there because this demand is already pierced. Okay, this is the one condition. What is another condition? Prices are traveling from all-time high to supply zone. ATH to demand zone, not supply zone. From all-time high to demand zone. That means the monthly stocks are not having the supply zone. That's why from all-time high they are moving towards the monthly demand zone. And weekly we have two possibilities. One is supply zone should be there or maybe all-time high to demand zone. Weekly all-time high to demand zone. So let us look into both the possibilities and we will generate. No stocks are available. Even if you change the weekly type also, you will not get any stocks. All-time high to weekly demand zone. ATH to monthly demand zone, ATH to weekly demand zone. If monthly stocks are not there, weekly also you won't get. So no stocks. So bearish setup, we found only 3 stocks. So this is about bullish and bearish setups for daily time frame. So it is end of the daily time frame. But remember, at the end of this video, I am generating demand and supply zones for all the daily time frame related stocks. That is for all the 201 stocks. Okay, now let us start with 75 minutes time frame. The next time frame is 75 minutes. Let us generate. So let us find the stocks for entry time frame 75 minutes. Let us find the stocks which are near to the 75 minutes demand zone. So these 6 stocks are filtered. It seems there are no high liquidity demand zones in this list. So let's go back. Entry time frame is 75 minutes. Let us find the stocks which are near to the 75 minute supply zone. So these 4 stocks are filtered. Have a resistance supply zone for Bajaj Finance, which is fresh. And one more, Lupin. This is also high liquidity, fresh zone, 75 minutes. But always remember, 75 minutes, always you should be very careful. You have to properly manage our risk in 75 minutes while trading. Because the high liquidity zone strategy we adapted is for the daily time frame. Okay, this is about 75 minutes stocks near demand and supply zones. Now let us generate 75 minutes bullish and bearish setups. So first let us look into bullish setup and 75 minutes time frame. So entry time frame is 75 minutes. Because it is bullish setup, our entry zone is demand zone. Now the entry time frame is demand zone. Our LTF, ITF, HTF will be changed now. Now what is our LTF now? 75 minutes. And what is our ITF? Daily. And what is our HTF? Weekly. So HTF trend should be bullish setup, either sideways or uptrend. Up or sideways is acceptable. But intermediate time frame must be an uptrend because this is a bullish setup. And 75 minutes, our LTF, we don't bother about the trend. Because trend always we look into ITF, but in the bullish bearish setups, we will also focus on HTF also. That is also important. Because these trends are ensuring your market is bullish or bearish. And what is the next one we have to set? The flow, the direction. How prices are moving from HTF demand zone to supply zone. What is our HTF now? Weekly. So that is the reason why your price direction on weekly time frame, it is HTF, should be from demand zone to supply zone. Or demand zone to all-time high is also possible, that we will generate in the second report. So this is the first report for 75 minutes time frame. And one more care we have to take. What is that? We don't want pierced zones. So setting pierced count. Now what is our entry time frame? 70. Previously we set it for daily time frame. Now our entry time frame is 75 minutes. You have to set pierced count to 75 minutes. So 0, 0. We want the zones having pierced count 0. Otherwise we don't want those zones. So we set all the parameters. Now let us filter. So total 11 stocks are filtered. All these 11 stocks are supporting bullish trade setup on 75 minutes time frame. But here the condition is at higher time frame. Both demand and supply zones are there, but some mistake we have done here. What is that? Only weekly time frame we set the direction. We didn't set the direction for daily time frame. Weekly time frame is HTF. Our ITF also we have to set. Because some of these zones, there is a daily supply zone is standing between demand and supply zones. So that supply zone, the daily supply zone, does not allow prices to reach to the 75 minute supply zone. Between 75 minutes demand zone and the 75 minute supply zone, our daily supply zone is standing in between, which does not allow prices to reach up to 75 minute supply zone. So we don't want such kind of stocks. That's why we need to set our filter even for ITF. What is our ITF? Daily. So go back and the price direction. What is our daily? We have to set demand zone to supply zone. See, now the list is reduced. Only 5 stocks are filtered. These 5 stocks are not having any supply zone between 75 minutes demand zone and 75 minutes supply zone. Always remember, ITF zones are like speed breakers. When our price is moving from 75 minutes demand zone to 75 minutes supply zone, if there is a speed breaker, that means there is a daily supply zone is there. What the daily supply zone will do? It will try to push the prices down again. There is also possibility that the push might break our daily demand zone. That means we may get losses. So we are checking all these conditions and then filtering the stocks. Basically, there is a safe way when prices are moving. That's why these kind of setups are very, very important. So let's go back. This is the first condition. What is the first condition? When both HTF demand zone and HTF supply zone both are there, such kind of condition. HTF demand zone is there, but there is no HTF supply zone available. That means all-time high demand zones. Let us generate those stocks also. Let us assume some of the stocks are not having weekly supply zones. They are only having weekly demand zones. So, we are selecting demand zone to all-time high. But assume weekly supply zones are not there, but daily supply zones are available. Second condition, daily supply zones are also not available. They are also all-time high stocks. So both the conditions, two reports we have to generate. So first report we are generating, weekly is traveling from demand zone to all-time high, but daily is traveling from demand zone to supply zone, and our 75 minutes demand zone and supply zone should be available between this daily demand zone and supply zone. So such kind of stocks we are looking in the bullish setup. Only one stock is filtered now. Always look into the search strategy. Search strategy will tell you what parameters we have selected. If we select any parameters in a wrong way, they will display here. Okay, this is one condition. So this is our second report for the bullish setup. What is the third report in the bullish setup? And daily also traveling from demand zone to all-time high. That means there are no supply zones are available. It is all-time high, and in between our 75 minutes demand zone and supply zones are there. So this is the list. So the time frame is 75 minutes. Look here in this report, even some of the 75 minute zones not having any supply zones. The dark green color indicates in these reports, they are all-time high 75 minute zones. Those stocks are not having 75 minute supply zones. If demand and supply zones is there, light green color and light red color. Light green color indicates demand zone, light red color indicates supply zone. If dark green color is there, it is an all-time high demand zone. It doesn't have a supply zone. That way you can remember. So this is the total list of the stocks, total 28. This is the first page and remaining list. So this is about this 75 minutes bullish setup. Now what we do, we will generate for bearish setup for 75 minutes. So we should get 3 reports total. Okay, entry time frame is 75 minutes, but this time entry zone should be supply zone. What about trend? Because this is a bearish setup, our weekly trend should be either sideways or downtrend. That is downtrend or sideways. And our daily trend must be a downtrend because this is a bearish setup. 75 minutes we don't bother. Okay. Then what about the price direction? Price direction, the first scenario, let us select weekly is traveling from supply zone to weekly demand zone. Weekly supply zone to weekly demand zone. And daily is also daily supply zone to daily demand zone. That means our 75 minutes zones are there between daily supply zone and daily demand zone, and also between weekly supply zone and weekly demand zone. That means in between our in between our 75 minutes demand zone and supply zone, there are no hurdles. The passage is safe. That is what the meaning of this condition. So let us generate. So these are all bearish setup stocks related to the first report. In both higher time frame and intermediate time frame, we have demand zones and supply zones are available. So you can look into this stock. You can pause the video and you can study. So let's move on. Let's go back. Now, second scenario. What is the second scenario? Weekly doesn't have a supply zone. That's why from all-time high, they are moving towards weekly demand zone. But daily again two scenarios. Weekly is not having supply zone, but daily is having supply zone and demand zone. That is one condition. Second condition, daily is also having all-time high and only demand zone. So we have to generate two more reports. The first report is daily is having supply zone to demand zone. So no stocks are available. And daily is all-time high to demand zone moving. Mostly you won't get. No stocks. So this is about bearish setup. The first report of the bearish setup, we found the stocks. Remaining two scenarios, we didn't find the stocks. So this is about 75 minutes related demand and supply zones. Now let us generate 15 minutes related zones. So our entry time frame is 15 minutes. Let us find the stocks which are near to the 15 minutes demand zone. So total 5 stocks are identified. If you are looking to this high liquidity zone, so don't forget to look into this pierced count. Already this high liquidity zone is pierced once. If it is pierced, the meaning is below this zone there is one more demand zone. Probably from there the real order is started. That way you can make use of pierced zones. Okay, this is about stocks near 15 minutes demand zone. Let's go back. Entry time frame is 15 minutes. Let us find the stocks which are near to the 15 minute supply zone. So total 7 stocks are filtered. So this is about stocks near 15 minutes demand zone and supply zone. Now what we do, let us generate bullish setup and bearish setup related stocks for 15 minutes. First let us start with bullish setup. Entry time frame should be 15 minutes. Because this is a bullish setup, we have to select demand zone. And what is the higher time frame, intermediate time frame and lower time frame for 15 minutes? 15 minutes is the lower time frame. 75 minutes is the higher time frame. And daily is the higher time frame. Okay, for zone violation trend based on zone violation, for daily time frame is the HTF. What should be the trend for bullish setup? It is either HTF trend should be either uptrend or sideways or acceptable. But intermediate time frame 75 minutes, it must be uptrend for bullish setup. And 15 minutes we don't bother about the trend. Okay, next, what about the direction? Price direction. So what is the HTF? Daily is the HTF. So it should travel from demand zone to supply zone. This is the first report condition. And 75 minutes also we don't want any hurdle. So that is also we are selecting demand zone to supply zone. So before filtering we don't want any pierced zones. So for time frame 15 minutes you have to select 0, 0 for 15 minutes time frame. We don't want any 15 minutes pierced zones in our report. The total 7 stocks are filtered. So what is the condition here? Look into the strategy. Your entry zone is demand zone. Even before that, entry time frame is 15 minutes. Entry zone is a demand zone. Your zone violation trend is for HTF, that is daily, uptrend or sideways, 75 minutes, that is intermediate trend. It should be up. What about the direction? Your HTF direction, that is daily, should be demand zone to supply zone. And your intermediate direction also from demand zone to supply zone. Intermediate time frame is 75 minutes. And 15 minutes, we don't want any pierced demand zones. This condition should be applied only for demand zones because your entry zone is demand zone. Always pierced count is applied for whatever the entry zone you have selected, that type it is applied. Now you will not find any demand zones having a pierced count. Always you see all demand zone pierced count is 0. Maybe supply zone you may see pierced zones, but not for the demand zones. So this is about the first report under 15 minutes. Now let's go back. Excuse me. Now let us change the direction. For daily time frame, our HTF time frame, maybe some of the stocks may not be having supply zones. That means they are all-time high zones. So let us find demand zone to all-time high. That is HTF. What about ITF 75 minutes? We have two possibilities. Daily is not having supply zones, but 75 minutes having supply zones. Or 75 minutes also not having supply zones. So we have to generate two more reports. So our second report is demand zone to supply zone for all-time high daily demand zones. Let us generate the report. So we have identified two demand zones, where these demand zones daily are not having supply zones, but 75 minutes are having both demand and supply zones, and our 15 minutes demand and supply zones are in between 75 minutes demand zone and supply zone. So let's go back and generate the third report for bullish setup. What is the third report? Intermediate time frame also, it is moving from demand zone to all-time high. That means the daily is not having supply zone, 75 minutes also not having supply zone. In such kind of condition, are there any demand and 15 minutes demand and supply zones? So this is the list. So total 21 stocks are filtered. This is about bullish setup. So you can pause the video and you can study these stocks. Now let's go back and find the bearish setup related stocks. So now let us generate bearish setup reports. Entry time frame is 15 minutes. Because it is a bearish setup, the entry zone should be supply zone. Because it is a bearish setup, our higher time frame for 15 minutes time frame, higher time frame is daily. The daily trend should be either downtrend or sideways. Both are acceptable. But 75 minutes trend must be downtrend for bearish setup. 15 minutes we don't bother about the trend. Then what about the price direction? And the daily should travel from supply zone to, this is the first condition. We have total 3 reports. First report, daily supply zone to demand zone price is traveling. And 75 minutes, that is intermediate time frame also, supply zone to demand zone prices are traveling. That means prices are falling down. From supply zone to demand zone, they are moving in both the time frames. In such kind of situation, we want our 15 minutes demand and supply zones. This is the first report in bearish 15 minutes setup. So we have identified 3 stocks that satisfies these conditions. Because we selected the supply zone, now supply zone's pierced count is 0. Okay, now let us generate the report for second condition. What is the second condition? Our HTF is daily. Now daily is not having any supply zones. So from all-time high, prices are traveling towards demand zone. This is the first condition. But 75 minutes are having demand and supply zones. So that's why prices are traveling from supply zone to demand zone. Now let us generate the report. No stocks are available. And third condition, supply zone also not having, 75 minutes are also not having supply zone. So that is also traveling from all-time high to demand zone. Let us check. Now also there are no more stocks. So that means in supply zone bearish setup, we got only one report that is based on supply zone to demand zone prices are traveling on HTF time frame and ITF time frame. So this is about bullish and bearish setup stocks for 15 minutes time frame. So now we have generated the reports for daily time frame, 75 minutes time frame and 15 minutes time frame. So before closing, let us generate demand and supply zones for all the stocks for the daily time frame. This is for our reference purpose. So entry time frame is daily. I am generating demand and supply zones for all the stocks. This is for the complete list of stocks. So I keep on scrolling this list. So whichever the stock you want to refer, there you please pause the video and you can study. So this is about complete list of all the stocks on the daily time frame. I hope this information is useful to you for your further study and analysis. Let us all meet again in our next video. Thank you.